Every business you admire started as a bet, a leap, a late night, a decision someone almost did not make. And somewhere in this county, that bet is being placed right now. Welcome to Loudoun Forward. The landscape is shifting. Industries are lifting and falling in the same breath. The question is not whether change is coming. The question is whether you will be ready when it lands. On this show, you will hear the real story behind the revenue, the pivot that saved the company, the lesson that costs too much to learn the hard way on your own. Whether you're 10 years in or 10 days out of a layoff, you are in the right place. This is Loudoun Forward. Let's get into it. Okay, so there's a version of insurance that feels like print and formality, and there's the version Ruiz gives you, the kind where you actually understand what you have, why you have it, and how it's working for you right now, and not just after something goes wrong. Kim is the founder of Fambuli Insurance Services, a Loudoun-based brokerage built on one core belief, that your coverage should grow with your life. Life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, business protection, and yes, even your pets. Fambuli covers the full range because life doesn't stay in one lane, and your plan shouldn't either. What makes Kim different isn't just the range of what she offers, it's how she delivers it. People who sit down expecting a sales pitch walk out saying, "Why didn't someone explain it to me like this years ago?" That kind of clarity is rare in this industry, and it's exactly why she's built the reputation she has across Loudoun and the broader DMV. Kim is also a connector in every sense of the word. She's launching BNI chapters, building community ties through the Loudoun Chamber, and quietly becoming one of the most trusted names in local business circles. Today, she's bringing that same energy here. Ruiz, welcome to Loudoun Forward.
Why, thank you. You almost made me cry. Actually. That's really great. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. So before we talk business, take me to the moment this became real. What happened?
This as far as our podcast or just Fambuli?
Fambuli.
Yeah, so it started as a pivot, a COVID pivot, because I knew my vending machine company was put on hold automatically, and my background is a CPA, and I used to work at accounting firms, and they were also on hold too from hiring. So I just started looking because I knew I had to support my family, and my son was going to be transitioning to online learning. So I needed to find a job or a career where I could be at home and work while also helping him through his school, his elementary school at the time. So I'd say that I was guided into going what everybody else did at the time, is going to ZipRecruiter. And it's like, well, okay, so what can I do? What can I work from home? And I remember my mom saying, you know what, it could be temporary, but just find something. And it was the biggest blessing because I found insurance. And I landed in a company where I ended up meeting my husband, and we ended up partnering together. But it was just such a great experience and a great career for me because I was able to combine all of my previous knowledge from accounting and serving clients through our vending machine company. And it was just a great way where I could actually feel like I'm helping people as opposed to just going through the motion and serving machines or serving clients with taxes. I mean, they were all great ways to build my career, but being able to take this to the next level where I can actually make a difference in people's lives was just such a great coincidence, if you will.
That's brilliant. Love it. So what was the first time when you were like, oh, wow, this might work? Because, and I would like to step back and give you some more context. A lot of people go into business with an idea. They go thinking, people will need this. And then you go there and sometimes it's like crickets. And for some businesses, it's, you already have clients before you even start.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually the ideal, and it keeps going, it keeps growing. I want to know whether in your case you had, what kind of experience did you have that made you see that, this is sustainable, it can feed my family, and it's a growing enterprise. When was that moment? Was there a moment when that happened?
No, that's a great question. So just to take a step back real quick, because it's really funny whenever you think about insurance. I'm like, great, this is something that everybody needs. Everybody needs life insurance, right? However, whenever you first start, it's like, people filled out these leads, these forms saying, hey, I want to talk to somebody, but then you keep getting these no's. Like, no, I just reached somebody. And I'm like, how can this be so hard? People need this. So it just, as you know, takes time when you don't have any clients. I mean, I completely shifted to a new industry. And I think one of my biggest aha moments is with the company I was at the time. They had a new agent bonus, or a I can't think of the word right now, but where it was like a promotion. If you could do so much within this period of time, then you can win a trip to Costa Rica, was the one I was going for.
Okay.
And so you had 3 months to not only learn a new business, get licensed, do all the things, and then be able to win this trip and help enough families. And of course, the families you help, we want to make sure we're finding the right solutions for them, and that it stays on the books is what we call it. So it was really tough at the time because I was having my son there with myself. So he's transitioning into a new life. And so I told him, I'm doing this for us. So, okay, maybe I will cry. You work with me and let me do this, and then we could do this together. So that was a huge aha moment, because not only was I knowing I was making a difference in people's families, my son was also on board that if he let me do this and work the long hours when, everything was shut down at the time, that we could do this together. So being able to win that trip and to be able to associate with people very successful in the industry was a huge aha moment, because I knew if they could do this and they could build it from nothing, I could do it too. So, and my son could see that too. I wasn't planning on it.
It's fine. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I can see that this was a very meaningful transition for you, and had a lot of heavy moments, if you will. And there was a lot of unknown as to whether this will work or not, but thankfully it did.
Yes.
It got some skates under it, and it kept rolling.
Yep. Yep, exactly.
All right, so what looks glamorous on the outside for this business but feels heavy in private?
I think it's all the no's and all the rejections you get in a couple different ways. So I think a lot of people see the really successful people and not knowing all of the no's and all of the hard times. At the beginning, I had to sacrifice, time with my son. And at that time, being very full disclosure, I was going through a separation at that time. So, losing the opportunity to spend all my time with him, and now only having, half the time with him, and also starting a new business was tough at the time. Now thinking about, I don't think I ever thought about it that way. But I think what a lot of people in the insurance industry, they don't last longer than a couple months, maybe a year at most. And it's because it's hard. You get like I had the same misconception. Everybody needs life insurance. So how can this be so hard? But people don't want to talk about it. They know they need it, but it's scary to think about it. And also to find somebody that you can trust that can do it and to guide you through the process. So I get why most people don't look into life insurance, but it was just a lot of the no's. And also I think the hardest thing was whenever you got somebody and they really needed it. So at the beginning we did a lot of mortgage protection. So we protected people and their homes. So we knew if something happened to one of the homeowners, that the other homeowner was not going to be able to keep the house. And that was really difficult whenever you knew so much on the deepest level of you that they needed it. But I also have grown to appreciate that all I can do is help guide them through the process. But at the end of the day, it is their decision. And I'm here to revisit it whenever they're ready, but just knowing that. And my husband has a scenario where he tried to help a couple where it was a husband and a pregnant wife, and they had multiple children at the time. And she ends up dying during childbirth. And so the husband lost the house and his job. And I mean, people don't realize the consequences of, I'll think about it or I'll get back to you later. And, so knowing that those things can happen and see them happen is really tough. Really tough.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough scenario you put out there. And hey, you need insurance.
Yes.
So what's a belief? And I think you've touched a bit on it, but if you could expand possibly, what's a belief that you had to unlearn to grow this enterprise?
Ooh, that's a good one. I think the biggest one off the top of my head, yes, is that feeling I could help everybody and being able to help people and guide them enough so they would understand what they needed. And at some point, you have to be okay with whatever they decide. And it's just knowing that I've done as much as I can to get them to that point, but at the end of the day, it's up to them, and their budget and their situation, and I have to be okay with that. So that was really hard at the beginning.
Yeah. So I still want to dig a little
Sure.
more into your inner world on this one. So
Okay.
when pressure hits, do you get sharper, quieter, faster, or more skeptical?
Ooh. I think when that happens, I get harder on myself, if that's a acceptable answer. Feeling that I need to do more, put in more work. And I've also, going through what I've learned over the time that I've been doing that, is sometimes working harder and running yourself into the ground is not the solution. And my body reminds me every time I try and do that. So it's just been very recently, I do a lot of reading, a lot of self-help. And it's just sometimes you just have to know that the right people are going to come when they're meant to come, And sometimes by forcing it is actually putting out the wrong energy and just having the belief and the trust that it's going to come. I mean, even just this week, and I love what you said in the introduction, because it's just within the last, I don't know, maybe 6 months, I feel that all of our networking and our community involvement is really starting to hit the ground running. And it's just having that belief that everything you're doing is moving you in that direction, even though you don't see things happening, because, you're doing all this hard work and you're doing all this hard work and it's like, but nothing's happening. Why should I keep doing this? And it's like, no, you got to keep going. And then all of a sudden you hit this big hill that you've been trying to climb, And I think we're finally getting to that point where like now people are calling us. They're finding us on AI. I mean, just this last week, somebody said they found us on AI. So,
Nice.
So I think the key is doing the work, putting in the time, but also taking time to say, you know what? I've done what I could, not even just for clients. I mean, I have to remember that for myself.
Exactly.
I did what I could, and so I just have to have faith that it'll come, and it has.
That's so true. Many years ago, I heard somebody who was a mentor at the time talk about this. Well, the analogy, the story of the Chinese bamboo tree, where you would water it. You needed to water it for like 4 years.
Yeah.
And it just, every day, nothing shows. And you have to keep, if you stop watering it, it will die.
Yep.
But you just need to keep watering it. But when it starts growing, it grows with, I don't remember however many feet, but an unbelievable, grows to an unbelievable height.
Yes.
In relatively short period of time. And people, and then this was the bit that he said, and people would say you're an overnight success.
Yeah.
But they don't see the 4 years or however many years you've been
Yep.
toiling, you've been networking, you've been, putting in the hard work when nobody saw what you were doing, and even you yourself doubted how things were going to turn out, and it looked like you were just pouring into the void and nothing was coming back. But then you hit that threshold and you cross that threshold, and it just feels like, rolling downhill pretty much, at least for some time,
Yeah.
doing that. So it feels like that's been your story in a nutshell from what I hear from you.
Yeah. No, that's a great analogy for sure.
It's awesome.
Yes.
So if your business could talk,
Oh, okay.
what would it thank you for? These are two questions.
Okay.
What would it thank you for, and what would it complain about?
Oh, okay. What would it thank me for is probably not giving up.
Nice. Yeah, you talked to.
You didn't tell me this was going to get so emotional.
It's
Just kidding. Because you don't think of all the hard work and the effort. And like you said, behind closed doors, you're working and you're pounding, and it's like you're crying at night. And try not to let your family see it. My son, he sees all the hard work, and I've slowly tried to stop hiding all of it because I think it is important. I think it's something that's not spoken about enough, is to really make the entrepreneurial journey work. It's tough. There's a lot of hard nights, a lot of lonely nights. But, if my business could talk, I'm sure it would say, thank God you guys didn't give up, for sure. And what would it complain about? Oh, that's a good question. Maybe we need help. More people to manage. I mean, that's the goal for this year, is finding, other people to come share the journey with us. So that way we're not, as you know, as entrepreneurs, you're the marketer and the social media and the bookkeeper and the tax person and
Welcome to my world.
So I think that's the thing, is really starting to get to that point. And like I said, that's a goal for us this year, is to have somebody come on to help manage some of it.
And I think that's a good place to get to. My understanding and my experience, looking at people who are, who have gone further down the journey of entrepreneurship, is that, you need to get to a point where you realize, man, if you want to grow, you need to bring people in, but you also need to, I think the smart thing, in my opinion, is what you've done. Start with what you have. Get it to a point where it's grown enough where you're like, all right, now there's more work than however many people are currently working on, doing it, and then let's expand and bring more people in to, help out in whatever way, contractors, employees, partners, however that works out, and then take it to the next level. But you need to, push the rock up that hill to that point.
Yes.
And it can be backbreaking work.
Oh, yeah.
And as you can well attest.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. It's finding that right time.
Yeah. Honestly, getting to that point and you're finding the right time.
Yep.
So, yeah. I love this question because we're going to dig a little bit.
Okay.
We're still talking about, we're going to be looking into the social health of, the entrepreneur, because one of the things I feel that it's not spoken about as much is not just the mental health. And I think that's one aspect, but how you manage yourself and manage other people when you're under pressure. And sometimes, a lot of the times, in my opinion, when you see the business podcasts I've listened to, everybody has a pitch. There's always it comes across too smooth. It's you do this, you do that, yeah, and you get this. You do this and the other, yeah. Well, we failed, but we recalibrated, and within 3 months, bro. There is been. We understand. And what I appreciate about this conversation so far is the humanity that, I see behind all of this, and the many entrepreneurs who are going through. And there's something about being able to identify with some other person and say, hey, I've been through that too. So this is not just me.
Yeah.
Because, there's a narrative. And sometimes that big boy narrative where everything kind of works smoothly, not all of us fit into that. And I doubt most of the people who speak about it actually
Yep.
do fit, absolutely into that.
Sure.
So one of the things I want to ask is, when you're under pressure, what do you accidentally do to the people around you?
Good thing my husband's like. So typically what I do is I take I guess it's the mama bear role, where it's just like, I'll just do it. I'll just do it, And we even had that happen, the other day, because we run the business together. Well, maybe not the other day, like a month ago, where, I mean, complete honesty, right? So where we have appointments, and he works part-time in Arizona and part-time here with me. And since we run our business nationwide, we can really work anywhere, which is the beauty of it. And I meant to mention, and I know this is a little bit deviating, but I think it also helps having somebody in the business that knows everything that you're doing, because I think that's kind of the beauty of our relationship, is we're so different. But he's also in insurance, so he gets it. He knows the pros, he knows the cons, and he's helped me through a lot of the bad times where I was like, forget it. This isn't working. And he's like, but we're so close, we're so close. Or some of the goals I was trying to hit, I wouldn't have been able to do it without his support, behind me. And so so what was happening is, a lot of times when he's in Arizona, they're a couple hours behind us, depending on the time of the year. So it works out great. So when my son comes home and then we have nighttime appointments, he can run those because it's still early enough on the West Coast than here. And so there was one time when, I had, back-to-back appointments, and I'm a morning person. So I feel much better in the morning versus like at night. And especially when you have back-to-back appointments, I'm like, oh, I should just have him do it. But whenever I get like stressed in the evening, and I know my son's doing this and trying to coordinate all the things and dinner and this and that, it's just like, well, forget it. I'll just do it instead of taking a step back, because there are people, and kind of going back to the last question, where sometimes when you're in this entrepreneurial mindset that it's like, it's me or nothing, and not that I don't think somebody else can do it the way that I can, because I know he could, but it's just one of those things where it's just like, I've been doing it so long and I'm so independent that it's like, I could just do it myself, without thinking that, oh my gosh, I do have a support group. I do have him to lean on, and he would do it. He tells me all the time, I can't read your mind, so you have to tell me if you need help. And so I think what my habit is I crawl in and I just go into like tackle mode, and I'm just going to do everything. And I think just also with the entrepreneurial journey is that in my BNI or in any of the networking groups, there's so many of us that are doing the same things, especially as moms. There's so many of us that it's like, why am I not reaching out to them? You just instantly assume, oh, they're too busy for me, or they're this, that, and the other thing. Whereas I realized recently that they want to support me. They just don't know what I need. So it's just, I think my lesson learned is it's okay to reach out for help. And that's always been a hard thing whenever you're a really high performer, or going back to like what I've learned, how many things we pick up from our childhood that kind of stays with us, is when you're that kid that that always, wants to do the assignments on time. And when you're in a group project, you're the one doing all the work because everybody else isn't doing it. So you just learn to pick up the slack. And that's kind of been this learned mentality where it's like, no, people are normally wanting to help and support you, but they don't know how if you don't ask for it. So yeah, there's that.
I absolutely love your answer, because it's very easy, especially when you're high performing, like you said, where you know how to do every aspect. And I also love, the awareness, the lesson learned in it, where you're like, I'm still working on it, but I understand that this is the direction to go. And I think it's, for me, pretty cool. And I love the mom aspect of it too, because I say that I absolutely respect women for the heavy lift that women carry, in just generally in family, in relationships, and then still do every other thing, especially in modern day, do run a business the same way. A man will have to run it if you're going to succeed, and still carry all those pieces. And I think it's remarkable, and it's one of those things that I salute you, and I salute all the moms out there for doing all this wonderful work, and especially these mom entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Thank you for that.
So, again, we're still staying within the bounds of social health. So,
Okay.
what does repair look like for you after tension? Revisit it, move on, joke, text, apologize, act. What does that look like?
Whew, that's a loaded question, and I think I'm answering it that way because it's a very insurance related response. It depends. It depends because it depends on the situation. You know what I mean? Sometimes, me being the overthinker, and this is something I'm working on right now, is how much I overthink and react to things, is always beating myself up on things and rehashing like, oh, I could have done this better, or I should have said this, or I could have done that, and I could have avoided this. But now learning more that these are all learning opportunities and that these are all here to help teach us a lesson for something, some way. So sometimes it's, if I get really upset, thankfully I haven't had that happen very recently, where I got to the point where I just had to step away. I'll just go out, especially thankfully now the weather's nicer. Sometimes just stepping away, taking a couple breaths is really all that's needed. The other thing is, I feel that a lot of us come from, I wouldn't say families, but just cultures. I think it's just a culture where it's hard to talk about hard things. And it's easy to just pretend that it's not there, and let's not look at it, let's not talk about it. So that's something I'm working on literally right now, today. It's just better to talk about it and get it over with, make amends, and learn from it. What can we have done better? Because the more you prolong things, and even going back to Mel Robbins and her 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, the longer we try not to handle that situation, the more it starts festering, the more you start thinking about it, and the more your mind just starts spinning, and then it makes it 100 times worse than if we could have just talked about it at the beginning and got it over with, and then we can move forward. And it's hard. It's hard, especially when you're a business owner and you're trying to run the business, wear all those hats, and do all the things. But the more I think about it and the more I work through it, the easier it is to let's just deal with it and learn from it, and let's keep going. Let's keep looking forward. We can't change anything way back here, so why are we all so upset about that? And let's just go forward.
That's awesome. All right, so what's a boundary you learned the hard way? Especially in business, it's so easy to go one way or the other. I had a guest the other day that I asked this questions, and I was expecting an answer about, dropping boundaries. About, raising boundaries rather. And they're coming from an environment where there were boundaries everywhere. Now they're learning to drop boundaries.
Wow, okay.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
So, so you could go any way you want with it, whether you needed to drop boundaries in any way or you needed to raise boundaries in any way. What boundary did you learn the hard way? All of us learned them one way or the other way.
No, for me, it's definitely putting them up, because I'm the person that doesn't want to make anybody feel upset. Let's say yes to everything. Let's not make anybody not like me. So that, and learning the hard way is because my body will just shut down. If I overcommit, and I'm working with my therapist right now on it. She's like, how are we going to block our schedules so that way we don't have this happen again? I mean, this is real life. Last week, that was my goal for the week. So learning the hard way is if I keep pushing and if I keep doing and keep saying yes to everybody else and worrying about everybody else, because that was actually what was happening, is I was worrying way too much about what everybody else was thinking and trying to micromanage everybody else's feelings, that by the time I got to the weekend, I was so exhausted and I couldn't even spend time with my son, because it's just like I could barely move out of the bed sometimes, or I'd have these awful headaches, and it's like, why do I keep doing this to myself? So this last couple weeks, it's like, okay, it's okay to say no. It's okay to stick to the schedule. It's okay that we only have certain days to work on client stuff and certain days to do other things. And if you don't want to go to something at night or on the weekends, it's okay. So, yes.
That's great. No, I love that answer. So we'll move on. So who do you call when you need courage or advice?
That's a great question. So typically, as I mentioned earlier, it's usually my husband. Usually things happen whenever he's not here in town. So we've had a lot of phone calls where I've had to lean on him to pick me up. My parents are also really great too. They've always been really big supporters of me. And I was just thinking, it was really sunny, recently. So I have my little flap on my car, what do you call it? You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. And I have a little note from my mom about saying how awesome I'm doing in the business, or keep going, you're doing great, or something like that. So it's just sometimes seeing those little reminders that are like, okay, yes, I got this.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So,
Uh-oh. When you start laughing.
I try to find the humanity in all of us. I think as the world goes more AI, we need to get more human.
Yeah.
And so some of these questions, sometimes when I'm asking them, I'm also thinking about them for myself. And it's interesting. Anyway, so I'm gonna voice the question that you haven't yet heard. and that's the question is, what keeps you in the game when the numbers aren't cooperating?
Yeah. That's a good question. I think a lot of what we said before is that, my husband, knowing that he's there supporting me, because he's always there to pick me up whenever the numbers don't look the way you want them to, and it happens. The other thing that I told myself a lot recently is, how can I still be worried about this when I've been doing this for almost 6 years now? Like, if this wasn't going to work, I would have found out 4 or 5 years ago. Why am I still, when you're in a commission-based business, it's almost like every month you're starting from scratch again.
Yeah.
So that's stressful, because your mortgage and all your payments are still here every month. So I think a lot of it is just also having faith that it's like, we've done this before, we've made this work so long. It's gonna work out. It's gonna, and I mean, there's been times where it's been scary. It's been very scary. But then as we, keep going and keep watering that bamboo tree or plant or whatever, it just, just knowing you keep doing the right things. We say this to each other all the time. So you keep doing the right things are always going to happen. So, and I know that when I put my clients' needs first, or one of my referral partners' needs first, it always comes back. And not that I do it because of that, but it's just, it always works out. It always works out, So as long as I'm telling them what I believe in my heart is the best thing for them, then it always comes back.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So if someone listening wants to support founders like you, uh, what actually helps beyond buy my stuff?
Oh, that's such a great question. I'm glad you mentioned that because, a lot of times as small business owners, we may not need somebody's services at that exact moment or know somebody, as I mentioned, not everybody's talking about life insurance, which is okay. You know what I mean? But that's not the only way to support a small business, as you know. So I'm so glad you mentioned this because this is something I tell my BNI group all the time. Go to social media. Any friends or families or any business, small business, by liking and sharing a post, which takes 2 seconds? Not even. I mean, you're scrolling through it anyway. So if you see a small business come up, just like it and comment and share it. If it's something that moves you, take the 2 seconds to share it because it makes such a huge difference. It's not even funny. And then the other thing is that if you use somebody and you really was like, wow, they're really great. They're really helping me out. Go to Google or Yelp or wherever they go. For us, it's Google and put a review. Once again, it doesn't even have to be like, if you don't have time to write anything, just do the 5 stars and move on. Having words in there is even better. But even just taking that time to just say, hey, you guys were awesome. I really enjoyed your services. It makes such a big difference because lately we have been getting so many referrals through Facebook. They're like, you were one of the most recommended people on Facebook, or we have the top Google reviews in our area. And then the gentleman that's like, hey, I found you through AI. He put his situation, and we're really good at helping people with pre-existing conditions. And so he found us because we had somebody that specifically said we helped with his pre-existing condition. So it's something so small and it doesn't cost anything. And it takes a second. It literally takes a second to change the trajectory of a small business.
That's awesome. And that's so true.
Yes.
So what does community mean to you in Loudoun, and who showed up for you?
Ooh, that's so good. It's funny because I've been in the DC area longer than I have anywhere else at this point. And living closer to the city in Alexandria, Loudoun was one of those places where it's like, oh, I heard it's really nice, but it's way out there, which was maybe like an hour. Yeah, maybe an hour with traffic, whatever.
Yeah.
So, but now being out here, because when we moved, I wanted to get involved with the community because I'm like, oh, I don't know anybody in Loudoun, which wasn't a true statement. I found out once I moved out here, but I thought, why not get involved? And it's just been so incredible the way the community works here. Being involved with the chamber has been amazing to meet other like-minded individuals and other small businesses where I feel that everybody that I've associated with, or the majority, where everybody really wants to see each other succeed. You know what I mean? Where they're really committed to go to the ribbon cuttings and to all those types of things, or the breakfast where we met at. That was phenomenal. A great way to meet 50 new friends. You know what I mean? It's just such a tight community where people really, really care. And just as a quick side, when we had launched, so we have the other business, the Connector Creative, where we do the digital business card scanner and then our CRM system and all this other stuff. But we had invited people from the chamber, from the BNI, from all the different folks that we have met here, and to have all of them show up and support us in our new venture was just really special.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It was pretty awesome.
So we're going to move more into business now.
Okay.
We're going to be talking about your services and your superpowers.
Oh, okay.
All right. And so if your business was a shortcut, what problem does it erase for people?
Mm-hmm. In the most simplest terms is it solves the having to stay up at night if something bad happens. How am I going to pay for the mortgage? How am I going to pay for the medical bills? What if one of us has cancer or heart attack and can't work? All the products that we work with help provide that peace of mind.
Beautiful. So what would you say is your unfair advantage, your superpower, if you will, when you are at your best?
My superpower, I think, is really just listening and educating. We really want to make sure or ensure that our clients feel that they completely understand what they're getting, why they're getting it, and why this is the best benefit for them. And also know that we're here throughout the process. It's not just, okay, here's your policy, have a great life, you know. That's not it. That's not the point at all. We're here as, you know, like our company name, Fambuli, so family, business, life. We're here through everybody's life. What you have now or your situation now is probably not going to be what you need in 4, 10 years. So we're here as your needs evolve, as your family evolves. So it's just, you know, a continuous arrangement, partnership, if you will.
That's great. So what's a sign a listener is your ideal customer and doesn't know it yet?
That's a great question. We can help, of course, everybody, but I would say our really target customer that probably doesn't know it, and going back to my roots of mortgage protection, I really, really believe, especially here in Northern Virginia, most families with kids, so people almost similar to us, you know, either working parents or one family or one wage earner families, that if something happened tomorrow, they know that the remaining spouse would not be able to stay in the house, or they would be worried about and the thing is, a lot of folks always think about the wage earners, but what happens to the stay-at-home mom or dad? Who's going to take care of the kids if something happens, you know? So really protecting the family as a unit. So if something really bad does go down, we know that the last thing they have to worry about is losing their house.
All right. So what's life like before someone works with you, and what's it like after?
Okay. So before, I would say most clients, when they come to us, they probably are anxious about the whole process. Anxious about life insurance, because I think we may have talked about it earlier. It's like, oh, it's this mystical thing that it's like, we know we need it, but I don't know anything about it, so I'd rather just not deal with it. It's kind of like those problems you don't want to deal with. It's just like,
Them under the rug.
we'll get to it another day. So I think a lot of it, they're either worried because they don't know anything about it because it's not taught anywhere, or they're also stressed because, like the clients I was talking about, they got declined before and they're like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it, or I'm too old, I can't afford it. It's like, no, we can find something literally for everybody. It may not be the exact thing that you want, but we can find something for everybody, you know?
Nice.
And then what is it like afterwards? So basically we'll walk through the process. You know, we I wouldn't say hold their hands, but just really guide through, you know, what are your needs? What are you looking for? Why are we talking about this? Who do we want to protect? And kind of go through the scenarios of what would happen if, you know, if that happens the next day and, you know, their whole life is shifted upside down. So at least we can plan for it and have something in place. The other thing is knowing that we're here through the whole process. I am very communicative. Whenever I walk my clients through not only the process in selecting the plan, but also once the application's in, because most companies don't give you an answer right away. They'll do their underwriting and they'll review your history and all the things. So I make sure that they know that I haven't forgotten about them. I help them through the process and, hey, I haven't heard anything, or they're looking for this. I make sure we're going and we're hitting every point. And if there's any follow-up, we're right on top of it so we can get it out and get them protected as quick as we can. And then they know that they can reach us at any time. They have my number. We have periodic check-ins to make sure that they're good and nothing's changed. So we're pretty in touch with them.
That's pretty cool. So What's your favorite, and I like this question and I think it will help. What's your favorite we saved the day moment?
Yeah. So it was probably my first death claim. I was working mortgage protection leads, and I had a client where a lot of times when we're doing these leads, there's different types. So you have ones that they're fresh and new and right off the press, and then sometimes you don't get people right away, especially when they just bought a home. They have a million other things to worry about. So then we have aged leads, if you will. So this was an age lead, one that's been out for, 6 months to a year, whatever. So I called them like I would any other calls I was making. And I hit this couple, and they said what I hear a lot, like, oh, well, we just got this. Okay, great. So tell me a little bit about what you have, just to make sure that you have what you think you have, because that's one of my biggest things when somebody gets referred to me and they already have a policy, making sure they know exactly what they have, because some agents are not all that trustworthy. And this is what happened to this family. So they had signed up for a plan. They told me how much they had, and they told me the amount. I was like, there's no way you have what you think you have at that price point. They're like, no, he said it was going to work like this. It was going to do that. So after we did more review, we found out that he was only covered for accidents. So he would have only gotten paid out if he had an accident. So I was like, let's look at something else. So it turns out that since he bought that policy and he talked to me, he had a medical concern. So now it negated him out of any coverage that would have been fully immediately issued, which he could have gotten if he was sold the right policy the first time, right? So then we ended up talking, and then we ended up putting him into an alternative policy where it doesn't pay out all of it right away, but at least it gives everything that they paid in plus 20%. So at least he got something from it. So of course he ended up passing, from his illness. She was able to get everything she paid in plus that bonus. So she got something, as opposed to if she had the other policy, they wouldn't have gotten anything. So I feel that was a great moment, because I knew that she was able to have protection and pay out as opposed to getting nothing,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a good save the day moment. So what do you need from a customer to get them the best result?
Good question. So typically, to find the right policy for them for right now is kind of the intersection I tell them of three things, is where, what your needs are, what you want it to cover, what your health looks like, and then also what your budget. So where those three items go together, that's how I find out where we need to go and how we can put together a plan for them.
That's awesome. So what's a red flag customers should watch out for in your industry?
So going back to my client that we had the death claim, is if it feels too good to be true, it probably is. It probably is. If you're getting $500,000 for pennies on the dollar, typically that means that it's not a full policy. It's probably some kind of accidental policy. Yeah. Or if they have you want to. So I had this happen. I had a client where she met with some gentleman, and he had her signing all kinds of applications. And it turns out he put her into 3 different policies without knowing it. He's like, oh, just sign here, sign here. So of course she's like, sure, I trust you. So it's always good to have
What's the implication of signing 3 different policies? Does that mean she's paying for 3 different policies, thinking she's paying for one, and they're probably not covering her?
No, she would be covered, but instead of expecting, like, let's say $100 payment, she's now getting hit with $300. And then the problem comes is if you end up canceling all of them, or if he had, and I think this was the case as well, where he had put in multiple other applications first and didn't. This is a huge frustration, is when people don't do what we call full underwriting. So to be able to determine those right plans, we want to know all the health questions, because the thing is they're going to come up whether you like it to or not. So it's better to just be honest with me and tell me what's going to show up. So I'm putting you in the right plan in the first place, as opposed to just throwing things in and then hoping it'll work. So that's the thing is with this gentleman is that now he can't apply for other coverage is because he had so many applications in such a short period of time, and getting declined for some of them is now throwing everything off for him. Yes. Because they track that too.
Yeah. So if your offers were a menu, what are the 3 most popular orders?
Ooh, that's a good one. So the first one, of course, as I love, the mortgage protection is one of our big ones. That's kind of where I think a majority of our business is at. The second one I would have to say is a plan that could be used. So of course, long-term care is a big hot issue right now. A lot of people are starting to worry about it being very costly. And so we have life insurance plans. What I love about what we have versus traditional life insurance or long-term care is that it could be used in 4 ways. So you know for sure you're going to use that policy for any of those 4 things, as opposed to long-term care. Most people didn't last past the waiting period or live past the waiting period, so it never covered anything, and they paid in for 20, 30 years, you know? So that would be 2. So life insurance that could be used multiple different ways. And then the other one that we absolutely love that I haven't even talked about at all, which I can't believe, is it's called an annuity. And typically what we could do is use it for people that are closer to retirement and they're really worried about the market. And they don't have an active person really looking at their 401ks or their IRAs. So it's just sitting there and it's exposed. So what we love to do is putting it into a life insurance policy because it's protected against market downturns, but then you can also get the benefit of the growth. Now, it won't grow as much as it would in the market, but you're also protected. And then it can be used for long-term care too, which is cool.
Nice. So we're winding down and we're getting to our last question.
Oh, okay. Great.
What do you love about serving people in Loudoun specifically?
That's a great question. Ooh, that's a good one. I think it's going back to the Loudoun community question, is just knowing that by us serving people together, we're able to serve more people. You know what I mean? So the referral partners that I've gotten here, it's, for example, other insurance agents. It's like we don't do the exact same thing. So if I can't help somebody, I know I have somebody amazing that will take care of them in the same way I will. And then vice versa. So I think that's been such a huge benefit of having our network here in Loudoun, is just being able to now be able to help more people in more ways.
Awesome. This has been a lovely conversation. I really enjoyed a lot of the insights and the vulnerability you bring to this. It's made it a very, very enjoyable, insightful conversation. And I'm wishing Fambuli and yourself more success. And thank you for coming on Loudoun Forward.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
And that's a wrap on another conversation that goes beyond the business card. If this episode moved you, challenged you, or made you think, share with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to Loudoun Forward wherever you get podcasts, and please leave a review. It helps more people find the real stories shaping Loudoun County from the inside out. I'm Toye Until next time, keep building forward.
Hands are paid, names remembered, promises made from the earliest times on a Virginia day.